Welcome, Atlanta United family, to another episode of Resurge Spike ATL. Here with our co-host, as usual, James. You can follow him at Kyle on Miss 26. Tommy, you can follow him at Let's Go Ducks 96. And our special guest for tonight, Sam Jones. You can follow him on Twitter at J underscore Sam Jones, if I'm not mistaken. I got that correct?
That's right.
Cool. Cool, man. Actually, first time I got in the Twitter name right, like right off the bat. But cool, man. For the ones that are on, coming on here for the first time, you can always go to Prize Picks and use the code Fila SP to get 100% deposit match. So for all you guys that are into football and like betting or just betting overall, honestly, I'm not a
I
fan
lost
of it because I
$30
can't
last week.
sell out.
I lost.
It's not legal here in South Carolina, so I can't do it. I mean, so it's probably a good thing for me though, because I'll probably go crazy with that.
You lost
Never bet on
$30?
MLS.
Never
$30.
bet on MLS. What were you thinking?
I had some drinks, and I was like, you know what?
MLS,
Let's get crazy.
What were the bets? I'm curious now.
I got to go back and look. It was kind of like laying in bed the night before, and I was like, oh, you know what? $5 on this game, and I lost like every single one. I don't even know how it's even possible.
You didn't parlay anything, did you? Because the only thing worse than betting on MLS is parlaying MLS. Okay, just making
Was
sure.
one of those results that Atlanta United was gonna win 3-0 against Philly by any chance?
The only thing would have been better is we found out that Calvin Ridley, like, he did the parlay on MLS. Like, that just would have made that entire situation even crazier.
Never do it. Not once. Not
Nope.
once. Mm-mm.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, last weekend was an interesting weekend, to say the least, or
Fun
as
weekend.
usual, as
fun.
usual, drama, and Atlanta United go hand by hand as of late. So, we're still in the playoff race. Some surprisingly, I mean, there's still some teams that below and above Atlanta United still have games to be played. So that's also some results that obviously you got to keep an eye for. But overall, it seems like, as many of us have been talking lately, you get hot like way too late in the season, and obviously that comes with everything that has basically have been a domino effect for Atlanta United this season. The injuries, not having consistent lineups, and all that. But we're honestly mid August or mid August, beginning of August. Did any of you guys thought that playing how average the team was playing, that we were going to be in a position where it's still reachable, it's still there, it's still within? Not only obviously you have to get the next 6 points, but you have to get some help eventually from the teams, but that have some results that so I just want to get you guys' opinion on what the position was that you were whenever it came to Atlanta United playoff hope. Sam, your opinion. I want to get you.
Yeah, I think I broke probably right around the Red Bulls game. The home Red Bulls game where they came out and did everything Red Bulls wanted them to. Just like headlong, head first into the trap. And Red Bulls torched them for it, right? And I went, okay, this team, not only are they just not giving the effort right now, they're getting out thought, they're getting out coached at this point. And that's where I went, okay, this is more than an uphill battle. This is a full lid on the season. Call it. That's it. And then they follow that up a couple weeks later, I think, with the performance in Philadelphia, where Rockerios Novo gives a couple goals. They just clearly weren't in it for the entire 90 minutes and got burned. At that point, I thought it was done. At that point, I thought it was really, really done. But they've made since at this point, they found the right personnel, they found the right tactics. But like you said, it's too little, too late at this point, which feels like a bummer. I mean, it's still a possibility. You kind of have to cheer for Orlando a little too much at this point, right? Orlando's got to beat Inter Miami. Orlando's got to beat Columbus. It could happen. But at the very least, what you're getting is you're getting proof of concept for next year. You're getting the sense that, okay, with this particular group, with this particular coaching staff, with this particular setup, with this buy-in to all of that, you can have results that are at least on par with the best teams in the league. And they get you that 0-0 draw against Philadelphia over the weekend that, I don't know about y'all, I thought it was probably their best performance of the season.
Yeah. It did. I mean, honestly, it was just unlucky that you have a guy like Andre Blake, in front of goal. That the guy was everywhere. If anything, I mean, that's the reason why the game ended 0-0. I mean, it's not because of anything else. Or Philadelphia honestly had a very, I want to say, poor offensive, overall game, and I mean, it just seemed like, for Atlanta to have that type of performance against a team that has been putting up like literally half a dozen goals on like every team that they play, it's somewhat, I don't want to say surprising, because the quality is there, and even with the guys that are, I want to say, quote unquote, filling in for the starters, but obviously they've earned their way to the starting 11 as well. So it's kind of like gives you some type of like hope, like, yeah, all right, maybe things can eventually end up working out in the long run. And I mean, for Atlanta United fans, I just think that overall we just have that idea that since we came into the league like just blasting, right from the gate, that we're just gonna get that results or somewhat the same results or performances like probably like 3 or like, let's say, like 8 times out of 10, and that hasn't been the case the past couple of years, for whatever reason, whether it's coaching, whether it's the squad, just getting turned upside down or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's
been 3 years, man. It with COVID. It's been 3 years.
Since 2020.
It's not getting it. Nothing comes easy to Atlanta United anymore. It never does. When you got a lead, the lead immediately gets evaporated. They just immediately come back. Like, that's just how it is. Even last year when we had the easy schedule at the end of the season, it wasn't easy because we were, allowing last minute goals. I think the New York FC hadn't scored a goal in like 4 games, and then they score against us. It was like the tying goal. They end up going and winning MLS Cup after that. Like, that was the moment that New York FC knew they were winning MLS Cup, was when they finally scored a goal, and it was against Atlanta United.
I forgot about that. Was that Keaton? Did Keaton hit that? Someone hit the hell out of the ball.
It was ridiculous. I don't remember who it was, but it was a ridiculous goal. It was like at the 89th minute or something like that. It was wild.
Average 2021 game. But I mean, with Philadelphia, I mean, it was a great performance, but you still left disappointed after not scoring a freaking goal. I mean, that's basically all I got on it. But yeah, we played really well. It's just not good enough.
Well, I mean, to the point about the defense kind of showing up, though. I mean, you look at this Philadelphia team. This is the best team in the league right now. They have 3 times more goals scored than goals allowed at this point. They were torching teams, and they come in to an environment where they probably felt pretty confident. No one's scared of MBS anymore. It's not the same, right? And they come in and they put up 5 shots. None of them are on target. The total XG ends up at like 0.2, I think is what it was. Their highest XG chance is 0.04, and it's from Flock at the end of the game at like the 92nd minute. That's suffocating. Like, that's absurdly suffocating against the best team in the league. And for an Atlanta team that sucks at transition defense, to put it nicely, they're 5th worst in the league in these defensive transition moments. To have them come out and stop probably the 2nd best transition attack in the entire league like that, that's really encouraging to me, right? And I think there are reasons for that. Like, I think one of the main reasons that I've kind of come across just looking at it was Franco Ibarra not being in the lineup, honestly. Franco Ibarra, in that loss to Philadelphia, where I was like, all right, they're done, up in Chester, he covered about 4.98 kilometers in that game, which, like, the average midfielder around MLS is probably covering about 7.2 kilometers in the actual time of play, right? And that's what Amar Sejdic did in this game. Amar Sejdic was in there and he was covering ground and making things happen in those transition defensive moments. When you put Franco Barra out on an island and force him to run like that, he's just not going to do it, you know? So to me, that hints at, again, you're finding what the right personnel is and who the right players are. And that's probably not Franco Barra, and it probably is Amar Sejdic on a vet minimum contract who doesn't even count against your salary cap, you know? So to figure those things out, that's important. Now, should Amar Sejdic be your starter next year? No. Don't do that. Don't do that. Find some kind of rangy 8 to pair with Santiago Sosa and build from there. But to have him as a depth piece, that's encouraging, you know?
Don't we have to re-sign him as well this offseason?
I think that's right, yes.
So
I think there's either an option or they just have to re-sign him straight up. But I think they'll get that done.
Yeah.
Tommy, I know you had a question about, player selection going into next year. I don't know if you want to throw that one out.
Well, I would say one guy that definitely is not, that probably should not be in the lineup next year just because he's not playing at all is Moreno.
Yeah.
Sam, I think I asked you the question 2 weeks ago. Over under was it 30 minutes that he was going to get for the rest of the season? And now my question is it 1 minute? Does he get one? Is the over under is 1 minute? Does he even get an appearance with this team for the rest of the year? And I'm thinking no.
It's a good question. I think it all depends on the game state, right? Like if you're up on NYCFC or New England and you just kind of want to give him out there for a few minutes just as like a send off, like maybe. But at this point, it's so clear he's just not in the plans, right? But the good news about that is of all the bad, quote unquote, bad contracts you have, not that Marcy's been necessarily a terrible signing or anything like that, just maybe not the right signing for the moment and for this particular team. Of all the bad contracts, like his is probably the most movable, right? You have a guy who's on what? Like $400K. We don't know his exact cap hit, considering that he was a relatively expensive transfer. But someone's going to value him. Someone's going to value a player who has an ability to create off the dribble, to generally just be chaotic and how they create things. And it's not that hard to convince MLS GMs that this is a player that is worth trading allocation money for, or that a team in South America will be willing to spend a relatively decent transfer fee on, So you'll get something back from Marcy, just not like 30 minutes or even 5 minutes left in the season,
Yeah,
that's my thought.
And it's interesting because he was pretty much co-MVP last year with Barco. Like he had an amazing season, and I know you analyzed a lot of film, Sam. So is there a real difference from Moreno last year to Moreno this year?
No, it's just everything around him at this point. Marcy is what Marcy is. It's the player who can create things, but is also going to punish you for simply just being ineffective as he dribbles into like 5 separate people for no reason whatsoever, who doesn't see that final ball, who is a ball stopper at times, not quite as bad as Zeke was, but is still a ball stopper, and that's just who he is. If you have the players around him that can thrive in that and make up for some of those mistakes, and you have the midfield who can pick up some of the pieces of some of those mistakes, then great. But on a team with Thiago Almada where that space is occupied and where we knew that space was going to be occupied, which it made no sense for him to really be here this year in the first place. If we really want to get down into it, it's not all that surprising that he ended up being completely off the grid when he didn't have room to operate within this system. But in this particular team, he just wasn't going to fit, So it's frustrating, but you move on, and I think you get some value for him.
I've always wondered if they just held on to him just in case, Almada leaves this season. Maybe they just assumed that, it was going to be short, but just the lack of appearances. And I always will go back to this game, but the game in Columbus, you're there, you need a win. And think of how important a win would be against Columbus. We drew them on the road, but you're tied with 5-6 minutes left, and you bring in Ibarra over Moreno. I'm like, okay, they're just trying to keep the point, I guess. Like they're just bringing Ibarra in to maybe have some defense. But if you're going for the win and you're trying to go for the playoffs, I would put in a guy that could create an opportunity at the last minute.
It's odd. It really is. For all of Marcy's flaws, you still think he could help in that kind of situation, you know?
Right.
And I think Zilf is right there. I would not keep Marcy around to replace Almada. I really wouldn't. But in that situation, yes, like that would be a moment where you'd like, okay, go, I don't know, see if you can dribble the ball off like 5 people's shins and have it somehow magically pop in front of you in the 18-yard box. You know, see if you can make anything happen, because that's what he does. So to make the Franco Ibarra kind of give up sub there, that I think it was surprising. And you know, I don't really understand it, honestly.
Just go get your gam, honestly.
That's exactly right. You can, gosh, man, for what some of the allocation money trades that we've seen in MLS over the last like year or so. I mean, like 2 million, 2.5 million bucks worth of allocation money. I think you can get like $1 million at least for Marcelino Moreno, like at least, you know.
Yeah,
that's gonna be valuable for a team that his roster's not all that well built. Still, you know, it still has a lot of ways to go.
absolutely.
Well, and you say that, and you see a lot of tweets out there that just say, and I even see a lot more today because the talk of Almada possibly leaving. We need to burn it down and just start over. I don't know if I see that. I think that there's some moves that definitely need to be made, and definitely some room that you can make for a new president and hopefully new technical director to be able to do what they want, whatever their vision is. We were talking about it, like, who do you see that has to go on this team by the end of after the end of this season?
I think you can look at some of the bad contracts. Again, the bad contracts, right? With Josetu, with Emerson Heineman, it's like all right there in the midfield, kind of packed in like a 500K to 700K range as far as salary goes, right there in the midfield of guys who are completely replacement level, just average midfielders, you know? So you get those bad contracts off the books, you trade Marcy, and you see what else you can do. And that might include, I don't know, getting rid of a beloved DP striker who has only scored 8 goals this season. It might. You kind of might have to accept that. But there's kind of a clear path once you do that. Like, the roster as is, we've seen over the last few weeks, I think, that you can be effective enough. And if you add a couple of key pieces, I think you can be really, really effective on an MLS level as long as you stay healthy, right? That's always a big if, but like add in a ball-winning 8 who can get up and down, who can cover a lot of ground next to Santiago Sosa, so Santiago Sosa can stay back and do his normal Santiago Sosa distribution things, and his ball-winning ability and everything like that can be complemented. Maybe find a traditional winger who will run in behind if that's not going to be Luis Araujo, you know, if that's not going to be Brooks Lennon. Maybe get another striker. And at that point, everything kind of looks okay. You have a lot of depth on that back line. You know, you have plenty of talent elsewhere. So if Thiago Almada is staying, you have a creator who you can just kind of build around. It's not that far away, is it?
I mean, if Almada leaves, though, then you've
then
got
it's a mess.
Yeah, you potentially have 2 DPs, and you got your other DP who has, you know, top 5 in the league in shots and 4 goals. Ridiculous. I don't know what I get more surprised for every game. Swearing at the TV when Araujo just totally young Hoku's the ball over the net.
He's got the yips.
Or Rossetto coming in and just me screaming at the TV. My wife just, like, she hears me screaming and goes, he just came in, did me? Like, it's at that point. And that used to be Jurgen Damm. Like, that was when he would come in, I would start screaming at the TV. But now it's like, he's done nothing for us at all. Like, and I'm worried because the way you hear that, how they talk about Rossetto, it seems like he could stay next year. And that's scary to me. That's very scary. Well, he makes too much money for what he doesn't do.
My thing is, like, we're talking about blowing all these players up, like 6, 7, 8 players, when there's just so much uncertainty in the front office and who our next president will be. That's my, like, I think about it like a lot. It's like, will this really happen? Will we be able to get rid of these guys? Is that, like, in the question? Because I have no clue, like, what's going to happen.
That comes down eventually to, like, how fast, this new president comes in, or how whenever he's appointed, or if there's already, somebody in talks. Because Tommy, I think you're the one that pointed something out, which was like actually like it could be like very true. To where like they already have a president, and that's why they give like he gave the thumbs up to like why Pineda was gonna stay. I mean, that kind of seems like the more obvious reason, right? Because like literally, why would you do that unless it's a Boca puppet move to just keep Pineda around and just keep doing what he's gonna do, man?
I mean, I don't know what rules are as far as like, let's just say that it's Garth, right? And I don't know if you're allowed to have negotiations while he's currently employed. At least if I'm looking at the NFL rules and NHL, you can't do that. So I would assume that he's not, that's not there. But that was my conspiracy theory. But the more I think about it, it's just I think they wanted to give the vote of confidence, which I still don't like. I still think that they should have just waited to say, hey, Pineda's staying until the new president comes. I think that's usually just how it works. But the Arthur Blank Association doesn't do that. With the Falcons, I believe they signed the coach before they signed the GM. And that's usually not how that works. So you just throw everything out the window with what you really think that should happen, because it's just not going to happen.
One of the frustrating things I think I've kind of come across as I've learned more about how the organization works as a whole is how somewhat disconnected it all is. Like, I think in our heads as like sports fans, we imagine that everyone is like on the same page, talking to each other about every single thing and every single detail, because we can kind of see like the larger view of it, right? We don't get to see the kind of minute details of day-to-day life at Atlanta United. And so we'll ask like Gonzalo Pineda sometimes, like, hey, are y'all re-signing this player? Are y'all making this move? And he will say, I literally don't know. Go talk to Carlos, And it's true. They really don't have the kind of connection maybe we envision in our head, which I think can be frustrating for people to kind of grasp, right? But it is relatively normal across like the soccer sphere, to have that kind of disconnect in the front office to some extent, right? But it does make it difficult to know that and know that one, Pineda's probably safe, two, Bocanegra's probably safe. Who's going to be making the decisions as far as the signings that Atlanta United chooses to make and the contracts they choose to move on? And do you trust those people to make those decisions right now? And it's tough to say yes. It's really tough to say yes,
I would say that at least looking at this transfer window, the summer transfer window, for the limited amount of cap space and positions that we had, I thought they really knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's totally fair. And I've heard that from multiple people around the league too. Like they went, oh, okay, they did a nice job there, especially considering the bad contracts, right? But can you really excuse the bad contracts when they're the ones who gave them the bad contracts? It's where I struggle a bit.
Yeah, it's hard to defend a guy when like you could say, okay, well they got Andrew Gutman, and it was a great plan. You trade for him, you send him to the Red Bulls, have him play, and it's just he just slips right into the lineup next year. Like absolute great plan. But then you go back to the Jurgen Damm contract, and Jesus,
Geodis Park goal scorer Jurgen Damm.
Right. He scored last night. Yeah, it was crazy. But like it's like there's a lot of moments of brilliance like that you can look at and say, okay, great, they did these things. But then there's just some that are like you just can't defend at all. Mm-hmm. So it does scare me. But with them saying that they at least want to hire a new president by the end of December, you just can't imagine that there's going to be, the overhaul changes that I think most people want. It's just too quick of a turnaround, and you need somebody basically to run things right before the season starts. And we start late February, right? I think that's still the plan for next season. So there's just not enough time to get someone out. So Boca's going to be making the decisions at the end of the year for options and, possible signings, but you have to bring in a couple. You might have two DPs that you have to replace. That's crazy.
It's a huge task. Yeah.
With the question that's up here in the banners, is Atlanta United like basically ready to let go of Atlanta United this offseason? Have they really contemplated the fact that they're like DP is only going to be here, might only be here for 1 year. Let's just put, into scenario that he actually makes the World Cup roster, and a team comes and pays the $25 million release clause that he has on his contract. And what does Atlanta United basically go from at this point? Are they gonna wait eventually for new president to come in with the new ideas, or are they just gonna stick with the go for the young South American prospect, the youngster with this potential, basically the Almiron, the Thiago Almada at this point. So I mean, just kind of want to get like your you know thoughts on that, Sam. Like, what do you think is the like best possible outcome for if that happens?
Yeah, I'd like to think there's some kind of contingency plan in place. I never know how much to expect from the front office on those kind of things, honestly. But they should have had a pretty clear idea that this was possible, especially considering if that release clause is real. Like, they definitely should have had a clear idea this was possible, because that's kind of the best case scenario, right? That Almada plays well enough to get that. You make your profit, you get your windfall, and you move on, right? So hopefully they had some plan in place, and we'll get to see that plan play out very quickly. What that plan might be, who knows? I do know that it will have to be in some of the same mold as Thiago Almada, simply because of the way the MLS roster rules are constructed. Please don't ask me too many questions about that. I'm not in full off-season mode, and I can barely explain it when I am. But they will have to sign a young DP, simply because they have 3 U22 spots right now. So they would have to go down to 1 U22 spot if they were going to sign anything but a young DP, right? So it's going to have to be a younger player who's that level, But good news is that plenty of young players are willing to come to MLS, and plenty of young players believe in that process, and plenty of young players are seeing things like Thiago Almada get called up to the Argentinian national team and saying, okay, this is viable, right? Teams are still paying attention when I'm in Atlanta United, or when I'm, at LAFC, or when I'm in MLS in general. Like, I can still use this as a pathway. So I don't think Atlanta United's going to be like hurting for options or anything. It's just they have to get it right again. And so far, the hit rate on that is relatively low, all considered.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What's your percentage confidence that buy clause is even real? Because I don't know who reported that, and I don't know whether to believe it or not.
Soccer journalism's great because you can see 5 different reports all quoting the other report that just happened, and then you dig deeper and realize that your friend tweeted out a joke a while back that maybe Almada has a $25 million buyout fee, and I'd be like, oh wait, that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's just this tweet. I'm not saying that's
Sylph might know something about that.
That's right. So it very well could be Sylph. It really could. I haven't heard anything official on that. I don't think the folks that I work with, Felipe Cardenas and Joe Patrick, have anything definite on that. If Felipe did report that, then maybe it's real. I would believe it if Felipe did, but I haven't heard any official confirmation on that. So I'll believe you. Whoever's in the comments there saying Felipe reported on Twitter Spaces. So we'll go with that, but haven't heard anything official.
I was going to say Tyler talked about it too on our Spaces, and then Joe was on, and then Joe started talking about it on Five Strip Final. So just could have been something that Tyler made up, and it just went all the way downhill.
Exactly. Tom Bogert hates this stuff, by the way. If y'all ever get a chance to talk to Tom, he gets so mad about it. It's wonderful. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah, I want 30 million. That's what I want.
He has a good comment here. Omar Sari says, I think we have 3 DPs that need to figure out basically what to do with Joseph's not playing his best. Also, chicken and rice incident. And Araujo doesn't seem to be happy here. And, Almada's obviously more closer to Europe than what he is to MLS at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no possibility where you could move all 3 of these guys with all the movement we're already seeing with everything else. I just don't see it, man. It's
so how do you get rid of Joseph though?
That's my question.
Is it a buyout? Is it so you hope that somebody overvalues him because?
Well,
I'm not sure if there's anyone that's in MLS that's gonna overvalue Joseph. Like if you watch how he moves, it's not I just don't see it. I mean, there's always the talk maybe he could retire, but I don't see him retiring.
Yeah, but I mean, our boy Zilf says that Eric Lopez will be the buyout. I want to see what you guys think about that. But me with Joseph, it's like I don't believe any of this. Like that in 2 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks, it's the last time I might ever watch him play in person, and it's just I don't believe it. But it's time to move on, I guess. But it's. I mean, you said Eric Lopez would be the buyout, but
he doesn't even play. Like I don't even think he gets into the lineup sometimes.
Yeah,
he's been on the
true.
bench. Yeah. Oh man,
that's one of those contracts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy,
that whole situation was wild, and like that all happened during COVID. When you hear the talk, like I was told I was going to play in the U.S. Open Cup and Champions League, like. Pretty much everyone knew Open Cup wasn't happening that year. I'm like 99% sure, like everybody knew. So I don't know how they convinced him to do that. And then all you saw was him just hanging out in front of the Braves stadium, watching Braves games. Like he was just Instagramming, hanging out at Braves games all the time. Like, I feel bad for this kid. Like he basically wasted like an entire year. I mean, a lot of people need to play too much, but like it was ridiculous. Like, okay, he got to play in Champions League. Like, cool. But like other than that, it was just a wasted year for the guy. I'm not shutting up Zilf. He was a waste of space.
I think he actually he had a question on does Velas have a sell-on fee? Basically, get a portion of what Atlanta United makes.
I would assume so. I don't have that off the top of my head, unfortunately. But I would assume so.
I would assume, yeah. I mean, knowing the fact that you're selling literally like the best South American prospect that there is at the moment, and eventually that he's gonna get pretty big. They're gonna pay pretty big money for him eventually. So I wouldn't doubt that that's a reality, honestly.
Oh,
it's curious. Like, was there any after everything that happened, all the stories that came out of Almada? Like it seemed like there really weren't many teams that were interested. I mean, there were some big teams that were interested before all that went down, but it seemed like Atlanta was pretty much the only one that was willing to take a chance on it and do their investigation, right? Like to do their hiring all the Falcons, NFL people to look into that situation. Like it was a huge lottery ticket. I mean, this could have gone really bad. I mean, we've seen some other situations around the league or around all the sports where they sign someone and some bad stuff goes down where they know they've got a bad history. But this is a lotto ticket that they're going to win on, as long as he stays out of trouble for a couple more weeks. I mean, this was a great move by the front office, and it sounded like they got it right with this. So I mean, that's what we said at the beginning of the season. Like this was something that if it worked right, they were going to make a ton of money, and it looks like it's just that investment's going to come, a little bit sooner than what we thought.
Yeah,
because this move definitely like took the fan base to a whole new level, like in the off season. Like it was supporters groups fighting each other,
it's always
and it
crazy,
was yeah, but like that was an extreme situation to what you see. But like I mean, you see what's going on now with Deshaun Watson. Like it's definitely like it's a situation where if it goes bad, and I live in Cleveland, so I'm watching this Deshaun Watson thing up close. Like it could get real bad, if one more bad thing goes wrong with him. I mean, he's got like 100% guaranteed contract here. Like that's crazy. So it's good that, they looked into it. I wish they would explain a little bit more how they looked into it, but it's paying off for them. So it's nice to see.
A question that I think I've brought this up before, and on Twitter Spaces as well. It seems like Atlanta United kind of like treat bringing in young players as like a way to make money, but literally it's not like a team that is in the need to make money. And at the beginning, you had a coach that, to what I know, to what I've read or, seen online and stuff. Obviously, Tata Martino had a lot to do with like the roster building, from that 2017 roster. So, you know, is this something that could happen like further down, like I think somebody on here as well said it, with the DPs, like how the way that they work, like it's not like they bring in guys that are just here for a year and out the door for here. They're there to like build something, eventually on the long run. Guys like, for example, in Seattle, like Raul Ruidiaz, I mean, and he's a franchise player. He's like the Joseph of like Seattle, basically. So that's something that you just don't. I don't know. Like personally, I don't see that changing. Unless something some new ideas come in with the new president that eventually comes in.
I honestly think that the roster rules will change before the club philosophy changes, if that makes sense. The way everything is kind of set up now, it incentivizes you to buy those young players, to fill those U22 spots, to fill young designated player slots and everything like that. Once those kind of go away, which I think they will, I think it will be less complicated 5-10 years down the line, because Leagues Cup is going to start and MLS is going to want to start competing with Liga MX on a higher level, And so once that starts, you kind of have to take some of those mechanics out to make sure that the playing field is even when it comes to roster construction. So once those incentives are kind of taken away, I think it makes a lot of sense to maybe move away from that, to maybe get players in like, a profile like Luis Ariel, who came from Lille, about 25, 26 years old at the time, and was just kind of a different fit compared to the other DPs that we'd seen at Atlanta United before that, right? So I think we'll see more of that, but not until the league sets up in a way that encourages that, because right now it does seem like the most optimal way to do it overall in the grand scheme of things is to fill those spots in the way that Atlanta United has done it. Maybe not most effective because they haven't hit on those spots as well as other teams have, but still not like a bad way to build the roster, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm curious how MLS does next year in Leagues Cup. Like, if they get destroyed, and there's a chance that they could, what happens? Like, do they panic and immediately change some of the rules? Like, I've read stories about Liga MX like wanting to have a salary cap because they don't want to spend as much. So which way does it go? Do they go and get the salary cap, or do we get rid of ours? And I would love to see at least a little bit. There's always been rumors about a fourth DP spot. I mean, the U22 spots are great, but it's going to be interesting to see after next year how MLS does in this, if that creates a panic mode and forces some changes here. And maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's what to really get MLS up and going. Like, you're seeing some of these guys come in, and now you're seeing some older guys getting on, TAM contracts or GAM contracts, whatever. Like, it's good for the league, absolutely, but I feel like there's cap crimes. It almost seems impossible sometimes how some of these guys are coming in. It's like, okay, Paul McDonough is there somewhere helping them.
All right, I got fun news. There's a tweet from 2019 that Almada signed his new contract with Vélez through 2023, and they gave him a $25 million release clause for his contract in September 2019. That's what I got from fan of the show, Zilf. So maybe they're mixing up his Vélez contract.
Oh, yeah.
Good point.
I can send you that tweet.
I'm interested now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. So shout out Zilf.
That would be funny if that was the root of it. And it's entirely possible
that could be like
continued.
transfer mark or something that has that up there.
It's entirely possible that clause could have continued with the Atlanta United deal as well, but that's interesting. That's interesting for sure.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys seen like also, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys are on Twitter as much as I am, but like the whole rumor about the MLS clubs getting invited to the UEFA Super Cup or something like that. Like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know how true that is. I mean, Sam, I'm pretty sure you're more knowledge to like what's going on other than like some random just throwing out rumors on on Twitter.
That was one of those where like it attributed the Guardian, and I went and looked through the Guardian to try and find the actual article that said that, and I couldn't. It was a really quick glance. Maybe that article does exist, but I really couldn't find what that was actually citing. Um, I don't understand why other teams would want to do that, and I don't understand why MLS would want to get like railroaded by 11 by Real Madrid or whatever. I don't like if you make it to the Club World Cup, great. Like, go ahead, Seattle, go lose to City or Madrid or whoever it is next year, right? But to like force random MLS teams into this tournament seems like a really bad idea if you're trying to instill to the world that your product is improving on a grand scale, which it is. You're still going to get ran over by Real Madrid. That's just
Those
how
are
it works.
competitive matches, aren't they? The Super Cup. I mean, oh yeah, that's incredibly interesting.
As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Oh, is it? Or selling tickets that way.
Well, I
That's how I feel
guarantee,
about
yeah.
Falcons games every week. I'm like, as long as the Falcons are having fun, like I'm not having
They
fun.
aren't.
As long as they're having fun.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like nobody out there is having fun for real.
I'm having fun. I think it's performance art. I think it's special that they go out there and find creative ways to lose like that.
Or almost coming back to win and then not doing it.
Exactly. A reverse Falcons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have 2 games left of the season, basically. One away against New England, which it's a team that has kind of been like up, up and down basically throughout the whole season. I think Bruce Arena was, saying that they didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs, basically. So I don't know how much, motivation that throws out there to the players. If that kind of has some like reverse psychology or something into it or something, but I don't know, man. It just seems like, you know, I don't know so much, as of late, but it seemed like last year or early on the season, there was this, certain teams that were like in a bad run, and then they came and played against Atlanta United, and all of a sudden they turned into prime FC Barcelona, and it's like, come on, like why, why against
We're
us?
the reason why New York FC won MLS Cup. That's how it happened.
I'll take credit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the Revolution have lost 3 straight games, so that only means that I have no clue what the score is going to be. That's all.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
And we haven't lost in 3 straight games, so
This game screams a draw, like 1-1 or something like that.
but it's a final to us. It's a final to us now. After 20...
It was against Philly as well, and look, I mean,
Yeah.
we weren't able to, do anything against them. I mean, they don't have Matt Turner anymore. I mean, it's not like they have like a
The new guy might be better.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, he's good.
He's really good. Yeah,
Thanks
that
for
we
the
don't
vote.
deserve.
Damn.
That we don't deserve to make the playoffs quote came after they lost to Houston midweek. They deserved the hell out of that. Good Lord, man. That was just a miserable performance. At least Atlanta United hasn't done something that kind of just drastically terrible. It's been rough, man. They've been injured a lot. Their DP Giacomo Vrioni has been injured a lot. Their new TAM guy, who's kind of their Tayshaun Buchanan replacement, his name's Dylan Barrero, extremely dynamic player. He's been hurt for a large chunk of this latter part of the season, and you essentially kind of had Carlos Seal trying to carry the team on his back, and he couldn't quite do it in the end, especially when he's being asked to do so much in midfield. So yeah, this should be a win. That should be a win. I know you're on the road, but like y'all said, this is a New England team that's pretty depleted, right? So on paper, yeah, in Atlanta United world, maybe not, but it should be a win.
I'm not
And
sure
then
who he's talking about this from.
And then even, if we are in a chance to make a playoff on decision day, New York might just have that fourth spot literally locked up and they might not be playing for anything, which could also be beneficial. But I
It
don't
was
know. We got a little bit of advantage on some tiebreakers going into the end, but if Inter Miami wins a game, yeah, it's throwaway. But we gave our best effort in the last 4 games, so that's all that matters apparently. So it's a final.
Bruce says
after
they
28
don't
games.
deserve it, and then Pineda says, "Well, we all tried, and they're trying their hardest. So, gosh darn, we should be in the playoffs."
But are we?
It's weird how the standard has fallen, right? Like it used to be supporter shield or bust, and now it's at least we tried hard.
Let's
Oh, you
celebrate
sounded
that we
like
drew.
Felipe, Sam.
I might have lifted that directly from Felipe. Honestly,
Yeah, I know.
It's poisoning me slowly. This is why I can't sit next to him at games anymore.
Every time just the goal scores, he's like the popcorn gifts where he's just eating the popcorn, just staring around at everybody.
How can I create chaos today?
Oh, yeah.
But I mean,
with good reporting, James.
Yeah.
It's good reporting, but he definitely pushes buttons. He likes to push buttons.
Some people take it a different way than other people. That's the issue. But yeah, I mean, I agree. But I was pissed after that game. Everyone around me, they're cheering and stuff.
The Philly game?
Was like, Philadelphia, yeah. I was pissed. Yeah, we played great, but we didn't. We had to freaking win that game, and then we don't after all of those chances. After Sage hitting the post, it's just like there could have been so much more. But yay, we drew against Philadelphia. Great.
Sam, what do you think about Mascara? Do you think that he's a good fit for the team? Basically, in the future, do you see him as a starter? Eventually next year, somewhat, halfway through next year, or maybe starting off the season.
I would love to, honestly. But he seems like one of those guys where you're constantly saying if he puts this together and this together, he's going to be great. And sometimes those guys just are always that. They're always, if they put these two things together, they're going to be awesome. And they never do, So I'm hesitant. You can see the talent. You can see the dynamism. That moment where I think he had Jose Martinez on his tail at one point and just beat him for 60 yards down the field. It's like a Miguel Almiron sprint to the box. And I think he got a shot off after that. That was the one that Blake saved heading towards the top left corner. That's a hell of a move, especially for a young kid that, just got into town a few weeks ago and really seemed kind of skittish about the whole thing. Honestly, he's a really soft-spoken guy and looked like he was still pretty unsure of himself, kind of coming into training and everything like that and talking with the media. But you can see that confidence picking up, and you can see that he understands how to make things happen when he's on the ball. The only problem for him right now is that final product. He just has he ever scored a professional goal? I don't think he has.
I don't think so.
He will next week, and he will hit the samba. Don't request it. He will hit the samba for us.
If Tyler talks about that free lunch from Doug one more time, he brings it up nonstop.
He's so close. He's so close every time. Doug's scared too. It's great. It could happen, right? It could be this thing where he kind of puts it all together. That year 2 bump is very real in MLS at times, where guys get comfortable in the league, guys get comfortable in the system, and all of a sudden get it together and start finding the back of the net. It could be possible with a guy like that. And for a U22 signing, which I think people kind of get hyped up because it has a name. A slot has a name, that makes it an important signing. But they're pretty hit and miss, extremely. There aren't a lot of U22 guys around the league who are really thriving and really contributing at an extremely high level. So what you're doing is you're essentially just you're getting a lottery ticket, right? You're taking a chance. And so as long as the guy is showing that they have a high ceiling, which Mascara is, I think that's generally what you want. You just kind of have to cross your fingers and hope that he gets there.
Last thing, before we do the predictions for the next game, Caleb Wiley, that's another interesting subject, going into next season. Eventually you saw him getting minutes that earlier on the season you didn't expected for him to get, all this playing time. And as the season went on, you started getting guys back from all these injuries, and he hasn't really had much playing time since what, like August, and like, yeah, basically since August. So next year, let's say, he comes in, gets 20 minutes per game, something like that, basically, or let's say US Open Cup, he's starting games. uh do you see him taking, like, a similar path like George Bello, and leaving like at a young age, or being, or taking it more, like a project, not in such a hurry?
I think he'll probably be gone relatively soon. Is my thought. My understanding is that Tom Bogert has reported that he has Atlanta United has received offers that have been higher than what Bello received for Caleb Wiley. And so I think those will continue to come in. He's extremely talented. I think he's more physically gifted than George Bello. I think he's better on the ball. I think his speed of thought is better. I simply think he's better than George Bello, to be totally honest. And I think teams are very well aware of that. And so, for him to get this many minutes this year was never part of the plan, right? He was never supposed to play this much, and especially so continuously. There was like a string of 17 games there. I think Caleb started every single one, and that's insane for a 17-year-old. It's a lot of wear and tear. So to get him some rest right now seems pretty critical to his development. I'm really glad he's getting it. And if he's not getting in for 90 minutes every single game next year, that's probably okay. And it means that Atlanta actually has depth, which has been forced out of them this year. So I think he'll be around next year. I think he'll continue to grow and kind of learn and understand what it's like day to day to be a professional athlete. And then someone will come in and take him to Europe, and we'll see what happens from there. But he's got a high ceiling. He's got a really high ceiling. And I think everyone from Atlanta to the USMNT folks, I think everyone's excited to see what kind of player he turns into.
I mean, these injuries have just forced Atlanta United to basically jump ahead 1 year of development that we just didn't expect. I mean, McFadden as well. I mean, they're
Campbell
both guys
as well.
that,
You could.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Campbell. Yeah, Campbell was so good as a closer last season, like coming in late and almost playing the midfield at times, just trying to, just park the bus. I thought he did a great job with it, but this year he just seems to he struggled. He's been struggling this year.
It's a tough ask to go next to Alan Franco and compliment Alan Franco in a way that makes sense. And I think Juanjo Prada is kind of figuring it out. Like, oh, okay, he's gonna be the one that goes on the adventures. He's gonna be the one that takes the ball forward and tries to make things happen. He's gonna be the one that steps out and tries to cut off any transition moments or anything like that. He's gonna be the one that does those things. If I stay back and I can sweep up, I can be okay, right? And that's what Miles kind of figured out as well. For most of their time together, they struggled with it a bit at the beginning of the season. I don't think George ever really figured it out. And I don't think it's in George Campbell's. Wow, I'm tired. George Campbell's skill set to really figure that out and be effective. You got to get him the right partner, but I think he can be that with Miles in some sense.
Yeah. Well, let's just wait till Alan Franco. We keep Alan Franco just so he's good for the last, 4 games of the season. Then he'll be ready for playoffs. That's how it works every season, right? Like, he just starts off shitty, and then he just goes. His stock goes up at the end of the year.
Baller.
What a difference he's been! Like from the first, like I remember that first game against Colorado. Oh. He was one of the worst players, like worst performances I've ever seen of an Atlanta United player. Like every goal was on him on that game.
I go back every now and then to watch that goal where he just forgot to jump. It's like he just missed the button on the controller and forgot to jump. And Diego Rubio scores, and that was the whole thing. That was on Franco at the beginning of the season. I don't know why he suddenly turns good, but I don't know if I have the patience to wait for it next year.
It's definitely a thing.
It's armband. That's what it is.
Yeah, maybe.
These guys in the comment section are killing me, man.
Prado's been good. He's also been hot. Like, let's let him have it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good for
Sam,
him.
Before we do predictions, I have a question for you. I know you've done 5 straight final. How did the striker come? Did they come to you and say we want to move to Atlanta, or did you come to them and sell the dream of Atlanta United?
I was trying to steal their idea. I said, "Hey, I want to start my own thing in Atlanta, and I noticed y'all had done this thing. So, what's that like? How's it going?" And they said, "Well, actually, this morning we were talking about expanding into Atlanta, and so the timing worked out perfectly. By the end of the day, we had it pretty much worked out to where I was going to come on and lead their Atlanta United coverage. And for those of you who don't know, The Striker is an independent soccer journalism site, covers Houston, Dallas, Austin, all the Los Angeles teams from USL and WSL on down, and now of course Atlanta as well, which I'm leading that coverage. So if y'all haven't checked it out yet, thestriker.com, I do a lot of really nerdy stuff. It's not super casual. Like my brother, who is a casual, will message me and say, "I don't understand what the hell you're talking about." That's okay. We can teach you. We can learn you. It's all good. But yeah, thestriker.com for extra Atlanta United coverage if you want it.
You do some great video reviews, and James posted one. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago on a play, and I thought it was you, Sam. I thought it was your highlight, and I looked and saw James.
I'm just a baller. I mean, I don't do that anymore.
It just comes naturally.
I'm retired. You know.
What was amazing about that, James, was I had turned in my article for my video review maybe an hour before I saw
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, no. But you would hit like the exact same beat on a joke, and I went, "What the fuck? This kid's stealing my stuff."
Dude, I know how to do all that stuff. Like I can be so ironic. You know, I watch a game. I'm like, you know what? I want to make a video about how trash this is, and it's fun. And it's also distressed because the whole year I get pissed off by the same like George Campbell press, all this other stupid stuff, and I'm just like, dude, I'll show the people how dumb it is. But yeah, I don't do it anymore. We're too good for it now. So no one's gonna like it.
How dare they steal your content? They should leave Cucho Hernandez open every time, just for your sake, James.
Oh, that one was pretty good. I gotta watch that back. That was prime stuff, dude. Yeah, now I just post Jurgen Damm memes and they get plenty of likes. So.
I'll like it every time I see one.
Yeah, but no one follows me. It's so sad. No, I'm kidding.
That's bummer.
All right, guys. Well, getting into the last subject, before we head off, and also the guys on the comment section, I want to get your thoughts on what the predictions would be against the Revolution next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. So, and you guys as well.
2-0, 2-0 Atlanta. Let's go.
All right, random number generator 1 through 4. We will win 2-0. There we go. That's what I got.
I'll go 3-1. 3-1 Atlanta. I think they win pretty easily.
Are we back? When's the last time we've all predicted a win?
Hey, damn! Everybody's like positive, man.
There you go. Come on,
yeah, I'll say 2-1 Atlanta.
Check
like that's my.
We'll play Montreal coming soon. We'll go up there and we'll beat them. There we go. Let's get ahead of ourselves.
2-2. Yeah,
I can't wait till you make a review video next or after that game that shows just us talking about these predictions.
Maybe I won't even.
Just how positive we were.
I won't even watch this game. That's the problem. I'm doing stuff. So. Damn,
sucks for you, man. Silver's this is probably he's trolling so hard right now. I'm pretty sure he's talking about the Revs, not even talking about Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, realistically, it's gotten to the point where, it's out of Atlanta United's hand at this point where, you just don't rely on getting the 6 points and getting into the playoffs. A lot has to happen, especially with the teams that have a game in hand still, or that have a game to play still. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I'm just throwing out percentages, but if just right off the top of my head, I'll say that it's a 5%, chance that Atlanta United actually makes it to the playoff at this point.
100.
I think it's 7, right? I think
8.
I saw 8.
8, yeah. Come on, guys.
7, 8, yeah.
For me, it's 8.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything. I just
it was good. Yeah, I was really impressed.
Yeah.
But Columbus blew it the other day, which was a huge help.
That goal was. I was watching that live. I was about to tweet season over, and then off the guy's face, and freaking amazing volley. It's amazing. That
That's
was
a
awesome.
saving
Then
grace for us
Miami
there, though.
wins. Miami wins.
If that's not a sign, though, that we're gonna make the playoffs, that goal right there, I mean, that it happened for a reason, bro. I'm telling you.
Columbus have blown more leads than anyone in MLS this season. So that's something to keep an eye on. Don't give up on Columbus. Columbus will give up for you. So just hold out for that.
That was a good one. Oh man. Well, all right, guys. Well, we've hit the hour mark on here, so let me go ahead and end this thing.
Follow me on Twitter, please.
Yeah. Before we head off, don't forget to follow these guys. J_Sam Jones. You can follow Tommy at Let's Go Ducks 96 and James at Kyle Don't Miss 26. And you can follow myself at Resurge Spike ATL. John said, wait, damn, they're having a whole conversation here. I'm trying to read all these comments. Hold up. John said I said the same thing in my personal chats with friends. Figure I wouldn't publicly put it out there though.
Nothing. Yeah.
No, he's talking about the Miles Robinson picture where he came out like he's like legit straight out of jail, like looking like
Jesus.
You're big time.
Make the
boy.
on my Twitter account for a week. This guy, nah, man, don't. That's
take the screenshot right now. You're gonna have to update it soon. So.
Yeah. Before we had I don't know how many more shows honestly I'm gonna be doing before the season's over, but I know I mentioned it on here a couple of weeks ago that next season we're gonna be doing the show in Spanish as well. If you guys want to join me, start learning Spanish.
Yeah.
Oh man. I see a C.
I don't. I'm very cultured.
I took Spanish 2 twice.
Oh,
dos. I took Spanish, Espanol, dos. So.
Yeah, that don't seem like that's gonna help. But...
Yeah, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, thanks for hanging out with us.
To every single one of you guys, that have they're always here on the comment section. Sylv, Josh, Chris, I don't know who else. Omar. I know there was somebody else on here earlier. I have my wife translate for me. This guy. All right, guys. Well, hold on. Let me go ahead and end this thing real quick before I say something stupid.